Before Michigan was a state, before Detroit's first car, there was a plan, a very big plan. In 1787, the United States acquired the Northwest Territory, a vast wilderness from the Ohio River to the Great Lakes. Congress passed the Northwest Ordinance, a blueprint for turning this land into new states, promising equality with the original 13. The ordinance set a border line east from the southern tip of Lake Michigan, dividing future states. On paper, it looked simple, but the maps were wrong. Surveyors faced wild terrain, and the southern tip of Lake Michigan was drawn much farther north than reality. This error meant the borderline was based on a mistake, a ticking time bomb for future disputes. The Founding Fathers' vision of neat borders was doomed by bad geography. The Northwest Ordinance, meant to create order, accidentally planted the seeds of chaos. As settlers moved in, they discovered the imaginary line on a flawed map would spark a real fight over valuable land. The future shape of Michigan would be decided not by surveyors, but by a political showdown. The stage was set for a border battle that would shape the state forever. As the 1800s began, it became clear the old maps were wrong. The true southern tip of Lake Michigan was farther south, putting the Maumee River and Toledo inside Michigan territory, at least on paper. Michigan claimed the land, citing the Northwest Ordinance. Ohio, aware of the error, angled its border northeast in its state constitution to keep Toledo. Congress approved Ohio's constitution, but left the border question unresolved. Two governments claimed the same land, creating the Toledo Strip, a 5 to 8 mile wide ribbon from Indiana to Lake Erie. For years it didn't matter. But as settlers arrived, confusion grew. Taxes paid to both states, courts in conflict. The issue boiled over in the 1830s when Michigan sought statehood, drawing its border to include Toledo. Ohio's congressional delegation objected, blocking Michigan's bid for statehood. The old surveying error had become a full-blown political crisis. Michigan's dream of statehood was on hold, all because of a line on a bad map. The fight for the Toledo Strip was about to get heated. Two states, one strip of land, and no easy solution. The stage was set for confrontation. Why fight over a narrow strip of land? In the 1830s, the Toledo Strip was all about water. The Maumee River connected Midwest farms to the Great Lakes and the Erie Canal, an economic lifeline. Whoever controlled Toledo controlled trade, taxes, and prosperity. Ohio needed Toledo for its canal network. Losing it meant losing millions in investment and future growth. Michigan wanted the port for a strong economic start as a new state. Governor Stevens T. Mason, Michigan's boy governor, saw Ohio's claim as an illegal land grab. For both sides, this was about more than land. It was about pride, principle, and the future. The Toledo Strip was a strategic prize, not just swampland. Ohio had political muscle. Michigan had the law and a determined leader. Neither would back down. The argument over maps and laws was about to escalate. The war for Toledo was coming, and it would be stranger than anyone expected. The only casualties, a few pigs and a lot of pride. By 1835, talk turned to action. Michigan's Governor Mason passed the Pains and Penalties Act, making it a crime to recognize Ohio's authority in the Toledo Strip. Ohio's Governor Lucas sent surveyors and officials to enforce Ohio's claim. Both states called up militias, about 1,000 men each, who faced off near Toledo. The standoff was tense, but mostly bluster insults, threats, and a few arrests. The only casualty was a pig, stabbed by a Michigan sympathizer. When Ohio surveyors tried to mark their border, a Michigan posse chased them off with warning shots. The Toledo War made national headlines and national embarrassment. President Andrew Jackson stepped in, seeing the dispute as a threat to federal authority. Jackson needed Ohio's political support and urged Michigan to compromise. The militias went home, but the real fight moved to Congress. The border war was over, but the political battle had just begun. Michigan's statehood and the fate of the Toledo Strip hung in the balance. The next move would decide Michigan's future. The swamps of northern Ohio had become the center of American politics. The solution would require a deal. With militias gone, President Jackson and Congress took charge. Jackson backed Ohio's claim to the Toledo Strip, but Michigan needed compensation. The deal: Michigan would give up Toledo, gain statehood, and receive the entire Upper Peninsula. At the time, Michiganders were furious. They saw the UP as a frozen, worthless wilderness. Toledo was a bustling port. The UP was remote, rocky, and separated by the Straits of Mackinac. Michigan's leaders rejected the deal at first, feeling cheated. But without statehood, Michigan had no voice in Congress and no access to federal funds. Under pressure, a second convention, the Frostbitten Convention, reluctantly accepted the trade. On January 26, 1837, Michigan became the 26th state, giving up Toledo for the UP. Michiganders grumbled, unaware they just won a hidden jackpot. The worthless land would soon reveal unimaginable riches. The strange deal would change Michigan's destiny. Sometimes the best trades are the ones you never wanted to make. Michigan's future was about to be transformed by the land nobody wanted. After the deal, Michiganders felt swindled. The Upper Peninsula was seen as a consolation prize, harsh, remote, and useless for farming. Reports describe brutal winters, rocky land, and isolation from the rest of Michigan. Toledo was a promising port. The UP was a giant question mark. The UP became the butt of jokes, Jackson's Folly, while Russia, a barren wasteland forced on Michigan. For years, this view seemed right. The UP was sparsely populated, home to a few trappers and outposts. But beneath the surface lay a secret. People judged the UP by its lack of farmland, not knowing its true value was underground. State geologist Douglas Houghton would soon change everything. His explorations in the 1840s would reveal the UP's hidden wealth. The frozen rock was about to become a treasure chest. Michigan's punishment would turn into its greatest asset. The UP's reputation was about to be rewritten. Douglas Houghton's 1841 report changed everything. He found massive, pure copper deposits in the Keweenaw Peninsula, triggering America's first mining rush. The worthless UP became a land of opportunity. In 1844, surveyors discovered the Marquette Iron Range, mountains of high-grade iron ore. Iron fueled America's Industrial Revolution, railroads, bridges, factories, and more. The UP became the nation's primary source of iron, powering the rise of cities and industry. Immense forests of white pine fed a booming lumber industry, building the Midwest cities. Mining and logging turned the UP into an economic powerhouse. Infrastructure followed. The Sioux Locks, completed in 1855, connected Lake Superior to the rest of the Great Lakes. Ore and lumber flowed to steel mills and factories across the country. The Toledo Strip, once the ultimate prize, now seemed small compared to the UP's riches. Michigan's bad deal had become its economic engine. The Upper Peninsula was no longer a burden, it was a bonanza. The state's future was built on the land nobody wanted. Sometimes fortune hides in the most unlikely places. The UP's mining and logging boom transformed Michigan's people. Waves of immigrants arrived: Cornish miners, Finns, Swedes, Italians, and more. They brought languages, foods, and traditions, creating a unique social fabric. Towns like Hancock and Calumet became melting pots, with Finnish saunas and Cornish pasties. Life in the UP was tough. Dangerous work, brutal winters, and isolation. This forged a new identity. Upers, resilient, self-sufficient, and proud. Upers developed their own dialect, humor, and fierce loyalty to the land. A friendly rivalry grew with trolls from the Lower Peninsula who lived under the bridge. The UP added a rugged frontier spirit to Michigan's culture. Michigan became more than the auto industry. It became a state of pasties, saunas, and wild beauty. The 1837 deal didn't just add land, it created a rich, enduring identity. The UP remains a symbol of Michigan's diversity and strength. Sometimes the best parts of a state are the ones you never expected. Looking back, the Toledo War was one of America's luckiest losses. Trading a port for a frozen wilderness turned out to be Michigan's greatest stroke of luck. The UP's copper, iron, and timber fueled the state's rise as an industrial giant. The North's resources and the South's factories created a powerful economic engine. Michigan's two peninsulas, separate but united, became the heart of the Great Lakes state. Today, the UP is a world-class destination for outdoor adventure and natural beauty. It gives Michigan a dual identity: industry and wilderness, city and wild. The story of Michigan's borders is more than a curiosity. It's a lesson in unexpected fortune. A surveyor's error, a political fight, and a forced compromise created a state with a unique character. The UP gave Michigan its might, its culture, and its enduring spirit. The Great Lakes state is forever defined by its two peninsulas, thanks to a deal nobody wanted. Sometimes, history's strangest twists make the best stories. Michigan's identity was forged by a border war, a bad map, and a wild, wonderful land.